Ah. Hey Siri, turn lights up 10%. Hey Siri, turn lights to 70%. All right, we are live. No, we're not. We're almost live. There we go. Now we are live. All right, Facebook is up. What's up? What's up? What's up? Coach Bruce is in the studio. Um, Sponsored today by nobody. All right. Today was a very intense work day. Editing video, filming video. A little more polished than this. Not a lot, just a little bit more. Um, my goal today is to basically, I don't know. I didn't really decide anything. I'm pretty feeling pretty loose today. Just gonna kind of do whatever feels like doing. Um, let's talk about my follower goal real quick on Facebook. The goal was to get to 100 followers. Oh wait, no. Let's not edit myself. My goal was to get to 50 followers on Facebook by for my business page by New Year's Day, and I've got one more follower to make it. So that's exciting. But then I bumped it up to 100 because I made so much progress early, and then it just completely stopped. So um, it's okay though. Like I talked about yesterday, if you can hear me at all. Like I talked about yesterday, the my overall mentality towards the whole thing has changed because we are now sustainable. The work that my wife is doing is actually going to be pretty lucrative for our family. Like, we're not going to be balling or anything, but it's going to be, a decent. It's going to be a substantial income. So, um, my sense of panic has left. Pressure has not left because, like I said, I want to provide for my family, but the panic is gone. So I'm just able to make smart moves and put my business in a position to scale um, wisely. And moving to the digital product realm is, I think, going to be good for me because, like, as much as I enjoy coaching and I want to continue doing that, it is very difficult to coach ADHD people. It's like herding cats. I enjoy the work whenever people don't forget about what's going on. Um, I don't tend to forget myself because I do the things that I talk about. I have a calendar and I am pretty religious about checking it. But I was actually late to an appointment today, but it's okay because the other person completely forgot about it. But I still felt bad because I was late. So that is you know you don't have to be perfect to coach other people. Like that's a I think it's a unique thing to like the aspect of like coaching humans in living is that you don't expect uh, the person coaching LeBron James to be as good as or even close to as good as LeBron James actually on the court, but you expect him to have a great coaching mind, like somebody who can help take that talent that LeBron James has and take it to the next level. So that's what I'm aspiring to is being a coach who can see the obstacles people are facing from an outside perspective and help give them the tools that they need to be able to access the potential and talent that they already have to be able to scale those obstacles. Um, I don't need to be perfect to do that, but I obviously do want to continue growing myself and coaching specifically on ADHD concerns. Um, that's something that has been a hindrance in my life. So I also want to continue improving on those things. So I try to take my own advice as much as possible, as long as I don't actually have to listen to myself give it. Like right now, speaking it the first time, that's fine. Listening to it again, for some reason, makes me want to crawl out of my skin. I don't like to hear myself on things. I've gotten a lot better. Doing a podcast has helped that improve immensely, but it is still difficult at times to hear my voice. Ooh, had a sandwich for lunch and it's making me making my guts just bubble a little bit. Too much information? I don't care. Um, so yeah, this is what I was going to talk about today. I took a big step in my coaching journey, which is, it's funny because it's like not really that big of a step, but for me, it was a win. Um, of all the people I know, nobody intimidates me more than my oldest daughter. Um, she is really smart. She is a really talented individual, but she's very close hold with her feelings and the information that is running through her head. Um, I've talked about this some on a variety of different things, podcasts and other social platforms, but like I take a lot of responsibility for how much she doesn't share her emotions because whenever I was a young parent, I was a first time father. I was raising her the way that I was raised, and that was very much fear, shame, guilt based. And I said a lot of things like stop crying and you don't have to get so upset about it, and um just a lot of like minimizing feelings types things. And is really hard to like forgive myself for that because I see a person growing up that feels stifled emotionally, and it feels like that was my doing. But I can't live in the past. Like I have to be aware of what I did, take accountability for that, and just do better moving forward. And that's I'm not a person who makes a whole lot of wholesale massive changes. I just try to do better. Like whenever I learn information, I try to implement it very quickly because like I strongly believe that if you know better, do better. Um, but better can be incremental. Better can be small steps forward. Better can be just trying. Better can be the attempts. Better can be the progress and the retrace. Like better is so subjective. When you're doing better. Um, if you have a stretch of being like a really awesome dad and you're like really proud of what you've done with your kids in that time, and then you have a setback and you have a bad day, does that mean that you're not a good dad anymore? I don't think so. It means that you had a bad day or you did a bad thing. The things that we do don't make us who we are. It's how we react to them and how we continue to show up in spite of those things that we did. How we take accountability for those things. How we say, "I'm sorry." Like, yeah, I did that. Like, I did the thing. It affected you, and you, and I love you all, and I'm sorry I did that thing. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I'm sorry I was late. I'm sorry I didn't call. I'm sorry. Whatever. Don't like don't pretend like people didn't notice that you did the thing, because if you noticed it, somebody else did too. And if they didn't notice it, they deserve to know it because it bothers you enough. And hiding behind those like half truths and those like omission lies is how I ended up in the worst depths of my darkness. Didn't start with just being a terrible person all the time. It started with like little half truths and then omissions, and you know, I messed up and I'm just gonna try to cover it up and hope that I'm never gonna do it again. But I never if I didn't take accountability for the thing that I'd done, then there was always this part of me that felt like I got away with something, or like I don't know, maybe it was my subconscious like actually feeling guilty. It's like, oh, you got away with it, but it was more like, got away with it. And so that was something that always kind of like churned the guilt inside of me is, oh, you covered it up good this time, but it never felt safe. And so I spent a lot of time in this like hyper paranoid state of waiting to get caught for whatever is the thing at the time. And that's a terrible way to feel. And feeling that way led me to acting weirder and weirder and doing crazier and crazier shit. Um, here, let's story time. Let's get into the deep dark shit. Um, sorry, excuse me. So back before I was a firefighter, like a couple lifetimes ago, I worked at a restaurant, and I was good at my job. I was a trainer and had the respect of my coworkers, and did my job effectively. But before I think this is before I made it to manager. I had a lot of baggage. Like I was still carrying that feeling of I'm never going to be anybody with me. Pretty like it wasn't like full on baggage, but I kept it in my pocket at all times, and that was something that manifested itself often through just getting hammered. I had one kid at least at the time. I'm terrible at chronological like mapping, so I'm not going to say exactly how many kids I had, but I had at least one kid, no more than two. So they were young. They were young at this time, um, and I would just get plastered, but I would lie to my wife about it. Like I would sneak out into the garage and like have a bag of wine hidden in the garage and would, take a couple of drags off of it because I was so disconnected from my life. I had no enjoyment in anything I did because I was hiding all the time. Like I had no plan as to what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. I had no goals, I had no aspiration. I was just literally in survival mode. And that place sucks. Being in survival mode is awful. So in that survival mode place, I started to make decisions based on what I thought would make me feel better. Like what's going to make me feel good right now? Drinking, getting that buzz in your brain and that like warm feeling in your chest, like that doesn't feel bad. And it got to a point where I was doing it so often that the next day was feeling deeper and darker because I was just on that come down. I was in the depressive hole of doing those things, and instead of listening to my wife when she's saying like this is damaging behavior, like what are you doing? You have kids, like can you stop destroying yourself? I'd say to her face, yeah, yeah, you're right. Okay, okay. And then I'd sneak away to drink, or I drink increasingly more and more at work. Like that's how the story started. At work, there was a couple, like I was a adult with kids. There was a couple of just barely not teenagers I was working with who would also drink at work. And because they were doing it, I told myself it was okay. And I believed it. Um, but I was a grown ass adult, and I was supposed to be a leader in the restaurant. It got to a point where there was literally a day in which I had stopped on the way to work, bought a box of wine, pulled the box out, put the bag in my apron, and I was just walking around with a bag of wine in my apron. What? Like I think back about that, and it is just like insane to me that that was a thing that I thought was okay. Um, Obviously, having that like brazen sort of intent in me, I got pretty tipsy at work. And because I was a good employee, my manager at the time, instead of saying, you're drunk at work, you're fired. She cut me early. She's like, yeah, you're a little off. I'm not gonna try to figure out too hard what's going on, but you need to get out of here. And at this time, I didn't have my own vehicle, so I should have just called my wife and said, "Hey, can you come get me? I got cut early." But what I did was I got cut early. I'm supposed to be at work for another 3 hours. What am I gonna do? Me and my bag of wine. This was in downtown Tulsa. We made the walk down to the bar that was, the cool hangout for everybody. And I continued to like drink my bag of wine, and the people who were there that I knew bought me shots, and a little bit of money I made before I went there, I spent as well until I was completely blackout. I don't remember how my wife found out where I was. Um, in in her retelling of the story, she was she knew that I was off because she called because there was something that she needed. I wasn't answering my phone, so she got a little worried. She called the restaurant. Was like, "Hey, can I just ask Bruce a question? Oh, I cut him 2.5 hours ago." This is how things happen in my life. Like I would say probably being saved by grace because I don't know where I would have ended up if it didn't happen this way. But generally, whenever I do something that's shady, my wife gets some sort of signal. It's like a flare up in the air, and she knows, starts getting a weird feeling, and starts to do a little digging. And before you know it, she has found, pretty much the whole of what I've done, and I'm exposed. So I don't remember how she found me, but she said that she had, the kids in the back of the car driving around town, basically looking for my dead body, and somehow happened into the bar that I was at, dragging our kids around. Um, Ran inside the place where I was at because I guess she'd heard that I was there, and found me like sitting in the middle of the floor in the patio at this bar, just like knocked out. Basically, I don't remember if I'd thrown up or not. I don't remember like what condition I was in, but well, no, I mean I know that I was in horrible condition. It was bad, and this was not like people would say this is alcoholic behavior. She said it was alcoholic behavior. Like it looked that way from the outside. It looked like alcoholic behavior. To me, it was at the time. It didn't even feel that bad because I was chasing a feeling of better, and it worked. Like for that night, I felt amazing until I woke up the next morning and I didn't remember how I got home. And my wife was really, really upset with me, and I didn't really remember why. And at that point, it still wasn't rock bottom, but it was a point where it was like, wow, this drinking thing is a problem. It wasn't the drink like that. That was a symptom. This drinking thing is a symptom, and the problem was I was I was running away from life. I was running away from responsibility. I was running away from connection. I was running away from truth. I was running away from so many things that the only way I could really find any sort of solace was in the bottom of a bottle or a bag for that instance. Um, and there was, some other, like I, tried prescription pain pills for that as well for a while. I also had like jacked up knees, so it wasn't like completely out of nowhere, but I obviously was taking more than I needed to because I felt good. Um, Whenever I started to get my life right and stopped chasing feeling better and started like sitting in bad emotions, started confronting where these emotions were coming from, and starting to try to find solutions, not like bandage symptoms, is when my life started to change. When I started to like realize that I could be a person of potential again. Like the potential never went away. I just was running away from my life, so I could never tap into my potential. I was trying to be something I wasn't. Like my potential was for me. I didn't want to be me. once I started wanting to be me, like accepting the mess that I was, embracing the fact that I'd made a lot of mistakes, but I was still alive and I had a chance to start over. Embracing that is whenever I started to see the potential of what my life could be. And from there, it did take a while, but like there was incremental steps of, hey, I have the potential to like earn a living that could take care of my family. Like, I became a manager at the restaurant. Like still, not really fully embracing myself, but it was better. And then I became, set my sights on becoming a firefighter and doing something with my life. And that that did good. Like that was another thing. It still wasn't me, but it was the drive to becoming something better than what I had been. And a lot of that was becoming healthy enough to see the deficiency that I'd been like hiding so long, that I was supposed to be the sole provider for who is now a family of 5 at this time, and I hadn't done anything to prepare for that. So the fact that I could see that now scared the shit out of me. So then the fire department sounded like a smart decision, because I could get that off my plate. And it was a smart decision for that, but it wasn't me it wasn't me moving towards unlocking my potential. It was me moving towards satisfying a fear of not being able to provide for my family. Um, which is not a terrible fear to move towards if you're going to be moved by fear. Um, so that's what moved me for a time, and as that allowed me to kind of ascend to a next level of self, where I was able to stop being moved by fears and start like seeing what I wanted for my life. And once again, that exposed lots of deficiencies of like, well, okay, I want this for my life, but looking around at my life, it doesn't look anything like that. As much, I have a beautiful family. That's something I want. I'm married. I do want that. But what I'm doing in this life doesn't look like anything like what I want. And as that started to get exposed, God started moving away to where it was like, you're right. This isn't where you're supposed to be. And things kept happening. It was, I've heard this before. I think it was Oprah or Maya Angelou, or somebody famous in black said, uh, first it speaks in a whisper, then something, something, and eventually it yells. So I kept getting like little hints that it was time to leave the fire department. Like this wasn't for me. Like this was not the job I was supposed to be doing. And eventually the situation came to a fever pitch in which it was obvious that I was not supposed to be there, so much so that they were threatening to fire me if I didn't quit. And that was it. That was God's final sign. Is like, it's time to move. It's time to do something different. It's time to start living in your potential. And I've spent the last year figuring out how to do that, figuring out what living in what living in God's plan is, what how to like leverage all the lessons I've learned, all the experiences I've had, all the skills and special qualities that I have into something that is going to help make the world a better place. And that's what I want to do. Like that is me moving into my passion. For me, is me moving into a life that I envision is making the world a better place. And yeah, this has been kind of a wild ride to get here, but like I think that I thought about public speaking and motivational speaking type things whenever I was a kid. I always thought it was such a cool thing to move people with your words, and I always played counselor or basically coach from a really young age. And now I've come full circle and I'm back there, and it makes honestly the most possible sense. Like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and doing that in a way where I'm creating digital courses and helping lots of people, like being able to put it out there for whomever needs to do it and whatever time they need to do it, it feels really, really right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I filmed like the last I think I've got 3 small videos to film tomorrow, and I'll be done filming for my course, and I'm really excited about that because like everything else is about ready to go, and by the first week of the year, this thing will be out, and I'm super excited to offer it to the public. And yeah, things are looking as if I'm walking in the steps of my purpose, and it feels really good. So that's today. I'll be streaming again for oh 30th, 31st, first 3 more days. Wow. 3 more days doing the stream. And then I'm gonna modify it somehow to keep doing some sort of live stream, but it'll probably like in the middle of the day or something. Um, I don't know if it's gonna be every day, but I'll figure something out. I've really enjoyed this and I feel like it's helped me find my voice a lot. And for anybody who's listening, I appreciate you showing up as well because speaking to an audience of any sort at any time, it feels like what I'm supposed to be doing, and can't speak to an audience if they don't come. So thank you for doing your part and listening. To everybody out there, have a great weekend. Be yourself, love yourself. I will see you tomorrow.